This is First Pediatrics. Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Chris Demas, and welcome back to First Pediatrics. This time is just going to be the two of us. I've got an exciting update. Some of you might know this already, but I'm thrilled to share that I've accepted and started as one of the chief residents at University of Michigan's pediatric residency program. I'm so excited for the opportunity to advocate for residents' education and coach junior residents to become the doctors they hope to be. As part of my new role, I just finished orientation for our incoming class of residents and couldn't be more proud and excited for them. I was reflecting on my own experiences becoming a resident and my first day as I was creating an intro lecture for them and realized I actually made a time capsule 2 years and 264 days ago. I shared this recording with them and they thought I should share it with you. I want to recognize that my experience is my own, and I want to validate any of the emotions and feelings that you might have at this time. So with that intro, let's go ahead back to my first day. It's about 8 to 9 p.m., July 1st, 2021. All right, so no joke, just finished my first day as an intern. And I'm actually feeling really good about it. I got home and was having some extra energy, so I literally just went for a run as well. And I don't know, I was just reflecting on the day and wrote down some bullet points that came to my mind in terms of things that I felt like were important from today. I think the most notable thing that first comes to mind was just how ready I felt for today. I think there's a lot of nerves. I certainly was feeling that this morning. I'm someone who tends to be able to work through nerves pretty well. So I actually slept pretty well. Was able to go to bed relatively early and was fairly well rested. But I was preparing specifically for today because I was able to shadow the day prior. I didn't have any responsibilities. And just as a note, I guess I was on pediatric cardiology inpatient. There's a floor of fairly sick children. I was caring for kids between the ages of 2 months and 10 years who have heart transplants, who have heart failure. So it's actually pretty devastating stuff to see, but these kids have a really good place to be. But what I was talking about first is, at least what I have first on my bullet point here, was that today actually went really well. And my attending in particular was complimenting me and my co-resident. And I don't say that to try to boast about how great the first day went, but more so to sort of emphasize and underscore how nice it feels to feel appreciated on that first day and feel needed and to feel like you're doing a good job. And I feel like I can improve in so many ways. I was bumbling around with all of these papers and clearly didn't have a good system to keep notes yet, but it just worked really well. I felt like everything I learned in med school was coming back to me, and I was able to add a lot of the flares of things that I just appreciated about the other attendings I worked with, other medical students I worked with, other residents I've worked with, feedback I've gotten along the way. Along those lines, I was watching a medical student present today, a sub-I, and they were doing a phenomenal job, like a really great job. And of course, now I'm going to say the but I thought it was really interesting because there was some feedback sort of I wanted to share with this person that wasn't super critical of what they were doing, but some helpful tips or tricks or general ways of presenting. And I guess to give specifics, he had a lot of hand gestures when he was presenting, and oftentimes he would speak pretty quickly. Everyone probably noticed this, but no one seemed to really comment on it. Maybe it was less of a big deal to some other people, but I found some of it to be a little bit distracting and hard to follow. And I'm curious as to how to fix this, what was the barrier for me to say something? I guess I could clearly say it. It was my first day. It was his 28th. I didn't feel like it was my place as the first day to really be critiquing someone. And I think I've realized more and more, being a medical student myself, the onus tends to be on yourself to ask for feedback. So had the medical student came up to me and said something along the lines of, hey, I like the way that you were presenting your patients, just reflecting on ways that I can improve myself. I would have felt very apt to give him some feedback. And I think the last thing I've written down on my sheet here is preparing patients for the first day. So I think the most nerve-wracking part of the day was when I sat down at about 6 o'clock to start getting my patients prepped for the first rounds. And you're getting used to a new system. You're getting used to presenting again. You're trying to figure out how the team likes the information presented. And it just takes actually a good bit of time to get used to that. But I walked in today, I said my goals were to focus on my oral presentations and getting organized. And I thought the oral presentations went well in terms of me having all the information I needed and being able to share information with family in a way they could understand. But I definitely need to work on organizing my plan. I was just getting to know these patients, and they're relatively complex in the cardiac floor. So my senior resident told me, you're going to be working on that for the rest of residency. And I believe it. I believe it. I think the other thing I just want to reflect on is that first presentation that you do as an intern, or just like that first time you're presenting as a doctor. One, it was weird to introduce myself as Dr. Demas. I always felt like I needed to put in, but you can call me Chris, because don't quite feel like I'm ready for that, to be called Dr. Demas, but apparently I can. I guess like that first presentation was not something I remember, not because I was super nervous, just because it felt like before. So I think if you're curious as to how well your medical school will prepare you for residency, they teach you the right things. And I can almost say this with a certainty that you will be ready. Yeah. I think I'll listen back to this at some point and realize how special it was that I made this recording on this particular day, to capture that moment and those feelings. And I guess just to reflect on the feeling of today, it was of appreciation and honored to be part of this process, to be able to care for these kids, and to felt weird too. As you can tell, I'm sort of stumbling over my words a little bit because it's hard to really put it into words as to how it felt. Well, it's time for dinner, so I'm going to sign off. All right, this is Present Chris again. What did you think? Was there anything that surprised you? One of the things that I noticed was my question about how I wanted to be called. It seemed to feel pretty unnatural to be called Dr. Demas that first day. I suggest that you take some time to think about what you want to be called, and maybe talk to your co-residents about this, and knowing it's okay if this changes over time. In my reflection, I noticed I was thinking about the qualities I wanted to emulate as a physician. I think we all had mentors that we admired during our training as a medical student that we wanted to emulate. Continue to think about how you can incorporate those qualities into the doctor you hope to be, and continue to observe the approach of others, such as your co-residents, your senior residents, and your attendings, as you continue through your training. The last parting question that I have for you is how you hope to grow as a learner, and the strategy you might employ to get the most out of your time in training. I'll tell you there's not one right way to do this, but some of the things that I have tried is to let your team know, for example, the things that you're working on, so they can help you improve in the ways that you're hoping. Finally, maybe you will also consider making a time capsule to remember your first day, like I did. Thanks so much for joining me,
and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode on First Pediatrics.